Congratulations on your CrossCurrent X e-bike purchase. This video will be using a CrossCurrent X e-bike for assembly, but these instructions also apply to the CrossCurrent S2. If you own a CrossCurrent S2, your bike will not come with fenders or a rear rack. Assembling your new bike is fairly simple and should take less than 30 minutes. Start by checking the outer box to ensure there isn't any shipping damage. Open the bike box and remove the foam padding from around the bike. Carefully remove the parts accessory box, front fender, and front wheel. The parts accessory box will include the front skewer, one tri-Allen wrench, 2 wrenches, a front reflector, a bell, a right and left pedal, 2 front fender stays with 2 stay clamps, extra spokes, and the battery charger. You will also need a Phillips head screwdriver, a 2.5 Allen wrench, and scissors or flat side cutters to complete your bike assembly. A bike pump also may be needed to add air to the tires. Carefully lift the bike out of the box, holding onto the rear rack and the front fork. Place the bike on the ground, resting it on the fork saver and rear wheel. CrossCurrent S2 owners, you will need to hold onto the front fork and seat stays while lifting the bike out of the box. Carefully check the bike for any shipping damage. Remove the packaging material from around the bike. Locate the front wheel and remove the plastic caps from both sides of the axle. Then find the front skewer and remove the nut and spring. Insert the skewer on the drive side of the front wheel. Without touching the rotor, place the spring on the other side of the wheel, being sure the skinny side is facing in. Then place the nut on the skewer and lightly tighten by hand. Before installing the front wheel, remove the fork saver by hand. Then remove the brake pad spacer from the front brake pads. Slide the wheel into the dropouts, making sure the rotor slides in between the brake pads and the skewer goes into the dropouts fully. Keep the cam lock straight and tighten the nut by hand until it's snug. It is important that the cam lock is angled to the front or back of the fork when locked into place. If the cam lock is parallel to the fork, it is not fully closed. Fully tighten the wheel in place by closing the cam lock. Once the wheel is fully installed, put the kickstand down. To install the handlebars, locate the tri-tool in the parts accessory box. Use the 4mm Allen side to loosen the stem bolts from the 2 face plates. Remove the front plates and bolts. Position the handlebars upright so that the brake levers face forward and the LCD screen is on the left side. Be sure to center the handlebars over the fork. Place one of the face plates and bolts on the front of the handlebar and begin to lightly tighten by hand. Place the other face plate and bolts on the handlebar and tighten by hand. Maneuver the handlebars until they're in the optimal position for you. Then use the 4mm side of the tri-tool to completely tighten the bolts evenly. Make sure the gap between the face plates and stem is evenly spaced. If your bike's handlebars come installed, you may need to move the stem to align the handlebars properly. To do that, loosen the stem bolts with the 4mm side of the tri-tool. Then turn the handlebars so they are facing forward. Next, tighten the top cap bolt with the 5mm side of the tri-tool until snug. Finally, fully tighten both stem bolts. To make adjustments to the brake levers, locate the tri-tool. Using the 4mm side, loosen the bolt on the brake lever slightly until you're able to maneuver it to the optimal position. Then fully tighten the bolt. Loosen the bolt on the other brake lever and move it to the optimal position. Then tighten it fully. To adjust the shifter, use the 5mm Allen side of the tri-tool to loosen the bolt and move the shifter to the rider's preferred location. Then secure the shifter by fully tightening the bolt. To install the bell, find the Phillips head screwdriver. Remove the bolt on the back of the bell. Wrap the bell around the right handlebar, being sure the lever is pointing towards the grip. Insert the bolt on the back and fully tighten with the screwdriver. Adjust the bell position as needed. To install the reflector, find it in the parts accessory box. Loosen the screw on the back of the reflector with the screwdriver. Then place it on the handlebar. Insert the screw back in and tighten fully with the screwdriver. If you own a CrossCurrent X, locate the front fender, fender stays, fender stay clamps, and the tri-tool. Remove the fender stay bolts and washers from the back of the front fork with the 4mm side of the tri-tool. Next, remove the headlight with the 10mm wrench. Loosen the nut on the back of the headlight. Then remove the nut, lock washer, and headlight from the bike. Locate the fender, being sure the bracket is at the front. Then slide it over the front of the wheel. Now place the headlight through the front fender and fork. Put the lock washer and nut on the back of the headlight and lightly tighten by hand. You will fully tighten the headlight once the fender stays are in place. To install the fender stays, first be sure the clamps are on the angled side. Locate the left fender stay. The left one will angle in toward the tire when placed on the left side of the bike. Place that fender stay on the back of the fork and put the washer and bolt through it. Begin to tighten the bolt lightly by hand. Fully tighten it with the 4mm side of the tri-tool. Locate the right fender stay. The right one will angle in toward the tire when placed on the right side of the bike. Place that fender stay on the back of the fork and put the washer and bolt through it. Begin to tighten the bolt lightly by hand and then fully tighten with the tri-tool. Locate the 2.5 Allen wrench. Loosen the bolt with the Allen wrench at the end of the right fender stay, just enough so the clamp opens. Then loosen the bolt on the left fender stay so the clamp opens. You may need to bend the fender stays so they are straight. Once the clamps are open, place one into the groove on each side of the fender. Move the fender stays around until they are near the bottom of the fender. Be sure they are both parallel to one another. Then tighten the bolts on the fender stay clamps. Make sure the fender stays are secure in the clamps and fully tighten them with the Allen wrench. Now check to be sure the headlight is straight and that the fender is off the tire. Then fully tighten the headlight with the 10mm wrench. Double check that everything on the fender stays is tight. To install the pedals, locate both the right and left pedals in the parts accessory box and find the 15mm wrench. The left pedal will have the letter L on it and the right pedal will have R. Make sure you use the correct pedal on the correct side. They are not interchangeable. Insert the right pedal on the rider's right side of the bike and turn it clockwise until it's snug. On the rider's left side of the bike, insert the left pedal and tighten it counterclockwise. At this point, the pedals are not fully installed. Use the 15mm wrench to fully tighten each pedal. It's critical that the pedals are tightened firmly in the crank arm to prevent the pedals from loosening while riding, which will result in significant damage to the bike. Before riding, it's important to adjust the seat height of the bike. To do that, open the cam lock at the bottom of the seat. Stand next to the bike and position the seat height to your hip bone. Then close the cam lock to lock the seat in place. Be sure to check the tire pressure and add air to the tires if needed. Next, double-check that all parts and bolts are secure on the bike. Also check that the battery is fully locked into the frame. Then press the power button. Turn the LCD on by holding the power button on the back of the display. You're all set to ride faster and farther on your new CrossCurrent X e-bike from Juiced.